YouTube, what it is? It's your boy QDZ Double E's, another episode about semis. How about it, Robert? Today we're going to be talking about APUs. Are they worth it? Why should you have it? Is it important? Well, you can follow along with me if you want to. Let's talk about it. So, I'm going to start off by telling you guys that I always recommend having some kind of auxiliary power unit on your equipment for a number of reasons. So in this video, I'm going to not only show you guys how APUs hook up and how they operate, so forth and so forth. So it's not going to be all just about video shot in the truck, I promise you. So I'm gonna have to go under the hood and show you, but we're going to start off by talking about the APUs in general. There's many different brands, but we're going to talk about the two main ones because a lot of the other ones are cheesy. It's just my opinion, they're cheesy, but there is a couple of other ones outside of the main two hitters, and those are the most common that you're going to see. So those are the ones I'm going to talk about. And the first is Thermo King. Thermo King is probably like the behemoth of APUs and reefer units. And then there's Carrier, and Carrier is right behind. I mean, they're like neck and neck. You know, it's just like a truck, whatever your preference is. And then there's the other ones like Greenway or something like that, and a couple other ones, but those are the primary two: Carrier and Thermo King. I have a Thermo King, and let's talk about how are they hooked up, because once we talk about how they're hooked up, I think you'll have a better understanding as to why they're so important to have. And I will say, even if you don't have an APU, having some kind of auxiliary power for air conditioning in the summertime, or heat, which diesel heaters are a great addition for wintertime, so you can have heat. I may include that in this. I may do a separate video for it. I think I'm going to do a separate video for it because I don't want to really intertwine the two, even though they kind of go hand in hand. So if I show you guys how they hook up, then we get into why they're important. I think you'll have a really good understanding. So without sounding too redundant, let's go ahead and check it out. Stand by. Okay, so what we have here, hang on, is your APU, depending on how you opt to have it set up. There's a couple different variations of the APU. Some APUs that don't offer a winter package. My truck has a winter package, and I'll explain what that is. But if your truck has a winter package attached APU, you'll find heater lines and hoses that run here. I can shut these on and off from here, and there's also some shutoffs in the back. These shutoffs stop coolant from flowing to the APU, because when you have a coolant, a winter package, the APU also pumps your coolant around through the APU to keep your coolant hot. So if you're in those winter climates, it keeps your engine warm. So if your engine drops below a certain temperature, or your coolant drops below a certain temperature rather, that APU will keep your engine nice and warm while you're sleeping. So you don't have to worry about starting up a cold engine and your engine block stays decent and warm which also helps to prevent from cracking your block and coolant freezing and things like that. And if you got a right mixture of antifreeze anyway, you shouldn't be freezing your antifreeze, but that's a winter package on an APU. Some APUs don't have that winter package, and they use their own coolant. They have a separate coolant reservoir, so that way they're just self-contained. The drawback, I'm gonna tell you the drawback between the two. Since this runs, it pumps my fluid, and it uses the same coolant from the radiator from the truck to also cool the engine on the APU. So if I blow a hose up here or I blow a leak in my radiator, I can't really use my APU. That's just the bottom line with that, because I don't have a separate coolant reservoir back there. That's the trade-off. Now I think they do offer an interchange where you can cut valves on for the winter portion and still have it stand alone, and they usually put a secondary coolant reservoir in the back for the APU. I know it's a lot, but again, it's a crash course, but this is how it's hooked up. So they'll run lines from the back of the APU all the way up here to your radiator and your coolant lines, and it'll pump the coolant back, all the way back, and circulates the coolant. So when the engine's running, which you hear my APU running right now, it's pumping that fluid around, and not only is it keeping the APU cool, it's also warming the fluid up here. Engine not running, first plus to the APU. That leaves unnecessary wear that we don't need on our engine. So none of these belts are spinning. There's no wear on my air conditioner. There's no wear on the going on the the water pump. None of the pulleys. There's just unnecessary things. I mean, I could go into a list of things that could be moving and operating while I'm sitting here just doing my reset. So that's the biggest plus of most of it, of having some kind of auxiliary power. Now let's go back here. Most APUs are going to be tapped into your fuel tank. It's going to use the same amount of fuel. The same fuel that the truck is using to run. For those of you that don't know what an APU is, it's a 3-cylinder. Some of the older ones I think were 2 cylinders. I think the newer Evolutions might be a 3-cylinder. Don't hold me to that. Mine is a 2-cylinder. Runs off the same fuel that the truck uses, but just uses a tremendously amount less than what the truck uses. The second plus to having an APU. On average, they say idling, you're burning about a gallon an hour of fuel when you're idling. This APU, being a 2-cylinder APU, it burns roughly about 0.2 ounces of diesel. Actually 0.2 of a gallon of diesel. Just idling. So when it's running, let's say I don't have any load on it, it's about 0.2 of a gallon, right? That's what it is, 0.2 of a gallon. When the compressor kicks on for the air conditioner, it's about 0.3 to 0.4 of a gallon, right? So with that perspective, that's about a little over 42 ounces of diesel an hour. So I can run this thing pretty much 10 hours, and it's only going to burn just about 2.5 to 3 gallons of fuel max. I'm averaging about 2.5 gallons to 2 gallons is what I'm seeing. And I actually did a number and a rating on it to see, and it is exactly about 2.5 gallons for 10 hours. The manufacturer specifications on this particular APU, and this is the older APU, was about 0.5 gallons. So it's actually under what the specification is for the first Tripac. This Tripac is very popular. They're still making them. They're still making the parts for them because they've just been so reliable. I have just at 10,000 hours on this unit, just a little over 10,000 hours, and it has been on this truck since brand new. I did a video about DPF and DEF systems, and I talked about this APU on that video. So it's been on this truck since this truck was built. It came with the truck. So that's how long it's been on here, just at 10,000 hours with it since 2013. Moving right along, as you can see, there's a fan here. This is a fan for the actual engine. This is keeping, it has a little condenser, I mean a radiator in front of this, and keeps the radiator and the coolant cool to keep the APU from overheating. Oil filter, and then you also have a water separator filter, just like on the truck. Has a water separator dipstick. That's where you fill it up at. And like I said, it's a 2-cylinder engine, little 2-cylinder diesel engine. These are the lines I was telling you guys about that come from the front of the engine that fill in the radiator, the little mini radiator. Your inlet and your outlet, coolant goes in. There's a water pump on the engine, just like on a truck. Pumps in that fluid around, and then after we do that, once it does that, it circulates it and goes back, and this is how it warms the coolant up to keep the engine warm in the wintertime. So that's pretty much it, and they're simple to change the oil in. You drop the bottom cover off, drain the oil out. It has an alternator and an AC compressor on the unit. So you only get sorry guys, you only get air conditioning from the actual APU unit. There's the exhaust pipe, there's a muffler behind it. There is the condenser, it has a separate fan. There's a dryer, and basically these are AC lines coming out of the truck and from the AC compressor. They run up here. I'd have to go into how air conditioning works to explain that, but that's a condenser. You got one on a car. If you got a car, you got one on a truck, you got on a truck. It's usually in the front of your vehicle. That fan keeps the condenser cool because air conditioner generates heat. So we need to keep that guy cool. And that's pretty much the gist of how the APU is hooked up. And it's mounted to the frame of the truck. And that's that. So this truck pulled up over here. It has a new style Evolution on it, and I'm gonna see if I can get it filmed and ask the driver if we can talk about it. He might not like, he might say yay, he might say no. Excuse me. Hey, I had a quick question for you. I don't want you to think I was crazy over here. I'm shooting a video from my YouTube channel talking about APUs and why they're important. And I see you had a newer style on there. Did you mind if I take a picture of it so I can talk about it? Okay. And I had a question. Do you use it much? How do you feel about it? You feel good about it? Do you see the benefits of having it? Okay, so this driver says that I'm not gonna put you on the camera, I won't put you out there. But this driver says that he sees the benefits of having an APU. Now I was explaining how it keeps the wear off of the engine. A lot of people don't even think about that part of it. They only think about the cool and the comfort of it, you know. Also saves fuel. He says it keeps the wear off the motor and also saves fuel, which I've been, trying to beat in my viewer's head for a long time. Yep, so it saves the fuel, keeps the battery charges, and also, I was explaining, like some of them have Arctic packages where it actually warms the coolant up for the engine. Yep, but I appreciate that. I'm just gonna take a few pictures up for you if you don't mind. All right, he said we were cool, so we're gonna go ahead and talk about that. So this one here is a Evolution. This is the newer style Tripac, and as you can see, they're hooked up kind of in a similar manner, where the lines run to the front there, and then you have your again, your condenser. See, his looks all nice and newer. Mine's kind of rusted, and the covers are changeable. You can buy the new covers, which I am. I'm actually going to put a stainless steel one on there because they got little accessories that you can buy. And that pipe that's sticking out of there, that's coming from his diesel heater. So he has a diesel heater in here. Most trucks have them, should have a bunk heater, and that's what that's for. They upgraded the style, and I believe they made these ones 3-cylinder engines. So, but that's pretty much the idea, and it's called an Evolution. Mine's is just the original Tripac. So one of the things that he was saying, I know you guys were saying you probably couldn't hear him because he was kind of talking low, and I didn't want to put him on camera because, you know, I didn't ask. But also, as he was saying, when your batteries are low, the Tripac will actually kick on and charge your batteries up. And that's one of the things that I use a lot, because the actual refrigerator that I have in my truck, I never turn my refrigerator off, and unless I'm going to be parked for more than a week or two, I'll cut my refrigerator off. So obviously the refrigerator's drawing power. This APU is cutting on and off, and you know, to maintain those batteries. So that's another plus. And here's the other thing: if you ever run your truck battery dead, it's easier to jump start the APU and then let the APU charge your truck up. So that's another benefit to having an APU. Also, we'll go inside and we'll talk about the controllers. Okay, sorry guys, might be a little dark. So it's telling me that it's 77 degrees. It just went up one because I opened the door, I guess. 77 degrees in here, and basically how this works is you just set your temperature where you want it. I think I have mine set at 76. So basically, once it reaches that temperature, if it can maintain the temperature, it will shut off the engine on the Tripac, but it will keep blowing the fan. And a lot of times, especially at night, it can maintain that temperature for me, like, you know, low 70s at night. It'll blow the fan for a while. I mean, hours, if it can maintain that. And then the only way that APU will kick on is if the batteries get low. And obviously that never happens because it kicks on. You have modes here. I don't know if you guys can see the modes. Let's get a little closer. So here you got your fan mode, you got your heat, because like I said, some of these come with heat integrated, and all that means is it cuts on your bunk heater from this unit. I have a separate one, so this controls my bunk heater, because mine is not intertwined with this. I could have bought one and plugged it in, and then I would have been able to control both of these from that one unit, but I didn't want to do that because I've been using these and I like this style, and I just like it, you know, just like it, my preference. And if your truck doesn't have an APU and you just want to put a heater in, then you got to go with an external heater anyway, or external diesel heater, and then you would definitely have to use this. And I actually have a remote for this that's up on my dash. I can control it from the remote, but I mean, I'm laying in the bed, so I don't really need to use the remote, so it's kind of, you know, redundant. And I only have the remote up there because sometimes I get up and I'll drive off and I forget to cut the heater off, and I can just cut it off from there. But there's your modes. So you can control your AC. I got mine on AC mode right now, and yeah, that's pretty much how an APU
now,
works.
the last part of this, how the air comes in the truck, because remember, it's its own standalone unit. So under the bed, once they install the APU, you'll also have a air box with another evaporator inside of it that goes under the bunk. Just because right now it's just too much for me to lift this up, guys. Well, I might be able to get it to lift up, but I might be able to show you. But at any rate, you have the air box in there, which has a separate fan and everything in there, like you have behind your dash. And it blows air out of a separate vent that's just for AC. And it also, if depending on how it's wired in, they can intertwine it where it'll blow out your back vent. And mine's are intertwined, but you don't have to do it like that. Let me show you guys. I'm putting my groceries away right now, so it's a little messy. But oh, my stuff's falling. There's the vent. There it is. There's the vent for the AC. And this vent here is for heat. So when my heater kicks in, only heat comes out of here. Heat doesn't come out of the vents up there where the AC's at, because the heater is not intertwined with this system. You have to run a separate duct to that, and I don't need to do that because that one little heater there, woof, it'll run you the hell up out of here. And these AC here will run you out of here too. And I'll show you the air box. There's the air box under the bunk. You see how the vent tube runs into this box, Thermo King. And there's a fan in there and it's blowing the air out. And then this one, this vent runs over and into those factory truck vents. See how they do it? And then that's what allows the air to blow out of the top vents for the sleeper. And there's a filter on here that you clean or change. Whew. And that's it. I hope this video has been helpful, because I just broke my coffee glass over here lifting this bunk up. You guys didn't see it. I always, tell you guys, have something. I mean, there's guys that got generators they carrying around in the back with portable air conditioner units that they, put in their truck, and they'll run a cord and, have air conditioning in there so they don't have to be idle in their truck. Because like I said, fuel costs and wear and is the #1 thing for us out here. Wear, the less I got to fix my truck because of just normal wear, the better, and that's the idea behind the APU. It provides comfort, takes a lot of the wear and the hours off of the engine, keeps the battery charged, it keeps your engines warm if you opt for that option. They have standalone and integrated units. Now let's talk about price. Yes, APUs can be expensive. I've seen upwards from $15,000. I've seen as low as $10,000, and I've seen them even lower. Now you can find them on Marketplace. I've seen some on Marketplace for like $1,500 to $2,000, $1,500 bucks, $2,000. But let's speak to the newer ones. My buddy just bought his less than 30 days ago from Thermo King, and he paid 10 grand for it, and he didn't have to pay out of pocket for it. He's paying 200, I think he said 200 bucks a month. Yeah, he says 200 bucks a month under full warranty. If he has anything or any issues with it, they cover it. So when you look at it from that standpoint, this is an investment, that is well worth having. And at 200 bucks a month, I mean, that's a business expense at that point. I mean, that is worth having, I mean, that's $200 a month to save wear on your engine over the long term, cost of fuel. And you really, if you're a runner and you operating efficiently, you can have that thing paid off probably in less than a year, even if it takes you 2 years, hell, I mean, $5,000 a year for a brand new unit that you're going to have a good warranty for. I think an APU is definitely worth it, just in those aspects. So when you hear the numbers, it's not always that you got to go out there and spend that much money. You can go in there and probably get a good deal, and put a little bit or nothing down and get one that way. Or, like I said, look on Marketplace. I've seen them on Marketplace for as low as $2,000, $1,500, $3,000. The only thing is, you just got to take it somewhere to somebody and get it put on. And even if you pay somebody $500 or $600 or even $1,000 to put on the unit, you're well under the threshold and it's paid for, and you're almost making instant recovery right back. That would be the way I would recommend doing it, because these units, they're pretty much indestructible. They're cheap to fix. Even if you buy one that needs let's say a water pump or fuel pump, they're really cheap. I did the fuel pump on mine. It was like $180. I did it myself. It was really easy to do. Oil changes, you change the oil on them. Every Thermo King says if you're using their filters, 1,500 hours. I change mine around, I do mine every 1,100 to 1,500 hours, because I use the Thermo King products. But like I said, do all my stuff myself. The engines are simple engines. There's not really no electronics to them. They're mechanical. The sensors that they use for protection is an oil sensor, temperature sensor, because if it overheats, it'll shut the unit down. And if it runs low on oil, it'll shut the unit down. And that's it. The pump is electric, but that's it. There's really no other electronics on the engine itself outside of the glow plugs, because they do have glow plugs in them to help them start in the cold. And then it has a control unit, a main control unit that usually is going to be under your bunk or in your side compartment. And I'll show you guys that before I end this video, and hope that kind of help you guys with some of the information on the APU. Getting out of the truck. And here's the control box. And in this control box, the only thing there is some fuses, and there's a reset button on the side down here if you have to reset the unit for whatever reason, or if you blow a fuse on the APU unit, you come in here and you change your fuses. How you know? Because you'll get a code up on that display I showed you guys. It'll tell you what the issue is, and it's pretty much foolproof. So that's it. If you don't get an APU, get some kind of generator or something. Stop running your engine at night. 10 hours of running it over the weekend. Save your engine, it'll love you. And I'm out of here. So I just gave you another crash course on why APUs are important. Why having some kind of generator or something is important. Hope this helps. It's your boy QDZ, Double Easy. Another episode all about semis. How about you, driver?